Welcome to Wildspire. You get to be a fly on the wall for my intimate conversations with entrepreneurs who are changing the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Benedetto, coach, storyteller, and unmarketer at The Awakened Business, helping coaches and change-making entrepreneurs unleash their inspired message and share it with playful unmarketing. I'll ask curious questions and explore uncharted waters with my guest today. Anything can happen when we step into the unknown of infinite creativity, and that's where we're going to play. My guest today is George Kao, who is known for bringing authenticity to marketing and joy to productivity. Now, authenticity and joy, unfortunately, are not often associated with business. So I think that you will find George's point of view to be quite a refreshing change from what you hear in the mainstream. We have a conversation today about the secret to finding joy in your work. Let me tell you a bit about George Kao. For over a decade, George has been a trusted conscious marketing advisor to thousands of self-employed professionals, including coaches, consultants, and speakers. His mission is to raise the marketing effectiveness of those who prioritize integrity and compassion in their business. George's specialty is helping people grow their online audience through authentic marketing, including social media, content distribution, and online courses. For many heart-based business owners, George Kao is the go-to expert on the topics of authentic marketing, joyful productivity, and healthy money. George helps clients build authentic businesses, expand their visibility online, stabilize their income, and streamline their business so that they can experience more freedom and joy in their work. It is with great pleasure that I introduce you to George Kao. Hi, George. Welcome to the Wildspire podcast. I'm pleased to have you here today.
Oh, I'm honored to be here, Stephanie. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. So I think I have probably been on your email list for at least a year, maybe more. I've heard wonderful things about you from Tad Hargrave, Danny Gardner, and other people as well. Actually, I just met someone today who was saying, you should look at this guy named George Kao.
Oh, wow.
I think you'd like him.
Well, thank you.
So
yeah,
you are one of the people who has been on my radar for spiritual business.
Yes.
For people who have a business and also want to do it in a way that feels authentic and aligned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the people in my audience will really resonate with your message. Mm. And I know one of the big things that you've been talking about lately is what you call joyful productivity.
Yes.
Now, what I see is that a lot of people experience a lot of pressure around getting things done.
Right.
So joyful productivity sounds really good to me. So what is that?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So joyful productivity, it might sound like, we get to just do all the things that are fun for us. We'll just only do the things that are fun, and everything else, no, we could maybe outsource it or automate it or something like, or not do it. And there is something to that. I have a process that I call EADA. It's an acronym, EADA: eliminate, automate, delegate, and if you can't do any of that, appreciate. But I feel like that's really, maybe we'll go into that because I've already named that concept. It's a good way into joyful productivity, which is there are a lot of things on our plate that we don't actually need to do, but maybe we got the idea that we're supposed to do it because we've seen either our colleagues do it or our mentors or others in our field do it, and so we're supposed to do that. So we put those things on our to-do list. For example, just one example today, one of my clients who, she's doing great with social media and, getting inquiries that way. And she's like, do I have to have a website? And it sounds so obvious. Well, of course, day one, before you even start your business, you should have a website. Everyone should have a website at the first day of their birth, they should have their website, And I'm like, well, hold on a sec. You're Is your social media post reach constant or growing? Yes, it is. So in other words, you already are reaching the people consistently and reliably whenever you want to share a message or an offer. Is that right? Yes, it is. It's like, well, maybe you don't need a website yet or an email newsletter yet. I mean, that's shocking for people to hear. Oh, email newsletter, the most reliable and the only asset you own, and all that stuff we usually hear. It's so much assumption is in there, and it's maybe not needed for some people when they're building their business in a different way. So there's many ways of doing it, right? There's the eliminate, and then if we can eliminate it because we do believe the importance of it, or it's really well matched for us, then we try to automate it by finding software and tools to cut out a lot of the steps we might be doing manually. If we can't automate it, if we can possibly delegate it, give the work to somebody else, or if we can hire somebody, even a freelancer at an affordable rate, that's great. And if we can't do those, then the last thing is appreciated. And this is where the heart of joyful productivity, because what I've set up to now is mainstream productivity. And maybe I'll add hustle in there, but mainstream productivity is all about, get rid of things to do and automate things and delegate things and then hustle your way through it, all of it. But the appreciate part is where I want to just emphasize a little bit, because we so often think that, I don't know about you, but I know I just watch a lot of the people around me. I mean, ever since I was young, I watch the people around me work. And there's this idea that we grew up with that work is to be done so that we have the money and the time to do the stuff outside of work. That's the real life. That's spending time with loved ones, doing our hobbies, being on vacation. That's really what we're all trying to do a lot more, except we have to work so that we can do those other things. And yes, who doesn't want to spend more time with loved ones or their hobbies or vacations? Of course, all of us do. That's easy. That's the fun stuff. And that's enjoyable. And but fact is, I mean, for most of us who aren't independently wealthy already, or have enormous family support or something like that, we have to work, quote unquote. And so, and in our work, of course, we are trying to build businesses that are really meaningful, fulfilling, and let's take this idea of work down to this microcosm of our business. We have to do all the admin stuff and all the marketing stuff so that we can do the real meaningful work of being with our clients, or having conversations on podcasts, or whatever it may be. That's really what I'm called to do. Like all the other stuff, it's just I'm trying to eliminate it, automate it, or delegate it, as much as possible. I just want to do it. George, people say, George, couldn't I just get someone else to do my marketing, and then I just show up and be brilliant with my clients and with my students, or So, and I'm like, well, wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, all of us would love that, right? But yet, the fact is, even if you had a brilliant, assistant or team or something that did so much for you, you'll never be able to fully eliminate the stuff that isn't deeply fulfilling and this is my calling. There's always stuff. Leaders, right? It doesn't matter how much of a leader you are. You have a team around. You still have to do this, the administrative or boring or difficult, quote unquote, work. That's not instantly in flow. So the question is, what if we flipped that script around and said, maybe, just maybe, I want to plant the seed here. The purpose of our life isn't just when we're working with clients, being brilliant with our audience or whatever, or with our loved ones, or doing hobbies, being in our garden. Yeah, sure. Those things are naturally easy and fun and fulfilling. But what if the purpose of our life also includes the kind of spirit and energy that we are pinging into the world, vibrations that we're just, when we are doing the difficult or boring or administrative or marketing, that type of work. And so that's the seed I want to plant. That's the radical revolution that I'm trying to help instill in this world. Because if we could, all of us, awaken to the fact that every task in every moment can be transformed into a sacred, possibly even joyful, deeply so, task, moment, project, then wouldn't our lives be like heaven? Because, right, it's like we get to do this bookkeeping right now. We get to figure out how to post this Instagram reel right now. We get to, clean up the spreadsheet right now in a spirit pinging out into the world of gratitude for this tool that I have that allows me to, organize information. Curiosity about what these numbers mean for my business and playfulness, therefore. I mean, however we bring ourselves to the moment is like, it's almost like, it's like I said, it's a radio broadcast out into the world. This is my energy. This is my spirit. This is my contribution to the unseen world, you might say. Whether or not you believe, those of you listening, whether or not you believe that you're literally putting vibrations out there, or whether you're simply believing that you're training your mind. Are you deepening the grooves in your brain of appreciation, curiosity, playfulness, perseverance, and joyful persistence? Or are you deepening the grooves in your mind of, I just got to get it done. Why is this taking so long? All of those feelings and ways of approaching work makes a difference, at the very least to us, but I believe it makes a difference to everyone that our business touches.
Mm. That final A is my very favorite of your EADA.
Yes.
It is such a beautiful thing, and sometimes very easy to forget that anything we do can be beautiful.
Yes.
When we approach it in the moment. There's an experiment that sometimes I give to my clients, and I have done myself, is to take something like a task that's mundane and meh for you, right?
Uh-huh.
And just as an experiment, do it like you love it.
Wow.
And see what happens. Like, what does it mean if I do my taxes like I love it?
That's a tall order, Stephanie. Maybe we should start smaller, right?
Well, yes, that's why I usually say like something that's mundane and meh, right? Like, okay, I'm going to answer my emails maybe if that's for someone. Yes. But what does it mean? How do you show up that way?
Yes.
What can you find in yourself of enjoyment in the activity? And if you do it with an intention to learn something, you will absolutely see something new that you can translate to everything in your life that looks like a chore.
Yes.
Yeah. So brilliant. I love that.
That's brilliant. That's a brilliant exercise. And I mean, ever since I've been practicing this, it's a practice. Just like you said, it's easy to forget because we all grow up with chores and homework. Mm-hmm. Before we get to watch our TV or play our game or whatever, play with our friends, we have to do these things. And so we all grow up with this upbringing of just get it all done so that you can actually live life, have fun. And it's like if we practice saying, no, this is life, because where else am I going to be right now? Except right now, right here. Well, if I have to be here, quote unquote, well, I might as well transform this moment. And if we do this, if we keep practicing, ever since I've been practicing this, earnestly since I would say 2014 or so, my life, I feel like has been like increasingly transformed into like heaven on earth is what I really feel like daily my life is like. And I feel like that really does make a difference to the kinds of people that I draw towards me, and the kinds of creativity that might come to me, and and sustain sort of like the personal sustainability of my work. Like I've been in this, business coaching game since 2009, full time since 2009. And I remember many of the people that I started with back then, that I met back then, who were just starting out 2009 to 2012 in that area. Many of them are no longer doing this, because, well, as you and I both know, and everyone listening, to solopreneurship or small business is not easy. This is why most of them don't succeed or, aren't sustainable. And so I hope that if we practice this, we will be personally sustainable and joyful throughout the process, such that we can do this long enough to find the kind of success where, I mean, Stephanie, you were saying, oh, I heard about you from Tad and Danny and someone else. That didn't happen in my first 5 years or 7 years, really. It's like, I really only started hearing people saying that for the last 3 years. So maybe since, let's say 2018, 2019, I started hearing this more and more. That means I've been in business for 9, 10 years before I started hearing this, and I started hearing people go, oh, I've been on your list, or I've been following us on Facebook for 5 years. And now this is my first time I'm buying one of your products. I'm like, you have to be in this thing long enough until you start getting that kind of word of mouth. It takes that. I mean, it doesn't have to take 10 years. Hopefully, you can, Stephanie, you and I are helping our audience maybe shorten that time frame a bit. But it does take, the longer you can be around, the more that word of mouth happens, like multiplying on top of each other. And it's really becomes like a really wonderful kind of snowball effect,
Yeah, I love that, George.
Yeah.
This is the moment we have to experience happiness and joy and life and aliveness.
Yes.
This one,
yes.
with whatever we're doing. Why not show up for it fully and see what we can create? There are going to be enough hard moments, this doesn't have to be one. So
yes,
I think that's right. A beautiful message.
Yeah. And to kind of further apply this, we can, well, I mean, if we're going to be effective with our use of time, we probably need to plan things in our schedule rather than only go with the flow, quote unquote. I always laugh at that phrase because I think there's such a thing as an untrained flow, as well as a trained flow. In other words, if you those of you who kind of look me up on social media says, well, gosh, George has written 4 books, 2 of which have second editions already. George has made over 1,000 videos. He must love writing and being on video. And I tell you the truth, no, I don't. I mean, I didn't until I get into it. So every time I write, Stephanie, every time I look at my calendar, my schedules, oh my gosh, I'm writing today at 2 p.m. or whatever it is, I still feel the slight anxiety and like wanting to escape and wanting to not do it, because I had a kind of a traumatic upbringing in terms of writing and education. I immigrated from Taiwan. We immigrated from Taiwan when I was just still even learning that language. And now I got to learn a new language. And I was in a mostly white neighborhood growing. I was one of the only minorities in my school for most of my upbringing. Years 1 through 12, I was one of the only minorities in my school. And so I had a really hard time I had a hard time in the beginning learning the language and kind of being bullied a bit with being so quiet in class, because I was still learning how to talk and still learning the sort of the culture and everything. So, and then the writing was always judged. Obviously, growing up, you're graded for everything you write, and you're given assignments that you probably wouldn't want to write on your own, kind of thing. And so I had a hard time with writing ever since I was young, and still to this day, when I look at a blank screen, I have to, practice my joyful productivity to bring myself to stay here and not run away screaming, or not run away to the ice cream or something like that. And I practice the curiosity and the removing of self-judgment and the generating of flow. And that's what I want to inspire everyone to plant this idea that flow can actually be generated on demand through practice, rather than this idea that we typically see in Hollywood, the lone genius who gets struck by some brilliant idea and creates an amazing product, and or the author or the artist or whatever it may be. Actually, if you look at a lot of successful authors and artists, they're not waiting until they have some brilliant idea and then suddenly this novel comes out overnight, right? Or this painting, they show up to their studio or their word processor, and they show up day after day practicing generating flow because they're a professional, and we are professionals. So I just want to, again, plant that seed that it is possible, not only possible, but I've been practicing generating flow on demand, on schedule now since 2014. And I will tell you, it changed my life and it changed my business, because I never knew before that it was possible. And the more I practice it, the more I see, well, of course, in the beginning of a writing journey, right? In the beginning of a blank page, I'm like, I don't know how I can possibly write something here, because I don't like to write. And I think I only have one thing I want to say about this topic. Like, well, I have one sentence. That's all I have to say. I don't know what to say, but I just keep practicing, placing aside the self-judgment, bringing some curiosity, just like you said, how can I love this? And say, well, let me just keep trying. What about this idea? Well, let me just keep going. And then suddenly 30 minutes, 40 minutes later, I'm like, there's something here. There's something here. And same thing with making video. When I make video, I only do live videos. It's been like that for years now. Why? Because if I made pre-recorded videos, I can be so self-judgmental that I keep doing take after take after take after take after take. It's like I won't stop. I'm like, oh, that could have been better. And so I just do live videos. All I do is live videos, and then I of course upload that later to different platforms. But you'll notice, those of you who like watch my live videos, you'll notice that the beginning of it and and it's like the first several minutes versus the last several minutes, I'm a different person. Like it, because I press record or I press go live, usually not wanting to go live because I know I could still prepare the topic. I know there's so much more preparation I could do before I talk about this thing. I know that, but I go live. And then of course, I prepare just a little bit, like, okay, in the beginning, I'm going to start with this. And then I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm going to pray and be open to kind of spirit flowing through me and see what happens. And it always happens. I'm live. I have one take, So practice generating flow is a key part of joyful productivity. And I just think, gosh, if more of us did that, the world would be an infinitely more beautiful and fulfilling place, because we will all have learned how to tap our genius and realizing that it can be done consciously and not just hope and pray that I have some inspiration today, or when am I going to have my next inspiration? And oh my gosh, inspiration comes at 3 a.m. You get up. I mean, I used to do that. I used to have terrible sleep because I'm like, okay, if I don't write this, if I don't get up and journal this right now, I'm not going to have any other inspirational moments. And then I realized one day, no, I will train my muse. I will train my creative mind to say, no, this is time for sleep. Give me my ideas at 9 a.m. when I'm at the keyboard. And then I show up at the keyboard, and then I practice generating flow, and then inevitably something will come through if I'm practicing a bit of patience. So I hope this is interesting for people and helpful.
No, I'm sure it will be. It definitely is for me, George. I find too that when I show up doing my part, which is showing up,
yes,
pushing record on the video, or getting my fingers on the keys, something shows up for me.
Yes.
And yeah, it is available. Cool. That's very reassuring. So if people listening to this would like to find out more about you, where can they go?
Gratefully, they can just Google my name and then pick whatever link they want, whether it's the social media or my website. My name is George Kao. The last name is spelled Kao. K-A-O, not C-O-W, but K-A-O, like as in Dow. So my podcast is called Business Dow with George Kao. So K-A-O is my last name. Google George Kao and you'll find me. So
beautiful. Thank you so much, George.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks so much for joining me for today's Wildspire conversation. If you'd like to receive a weekly Wildspire email from me filled with inspiring stories on marketing experiments, tips for playing your way to impact and income without the hustle and hype, insights from my spiritual business journey, and more, go to theawakenedbusiness.com/Wildspire. Until next time, may you know yourself as the gorgeous wild creation you are.